Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name's Allie, and my channel is Heart and Soul Connected, where I bring you lots of different kinds of shows. Some of them are pre-recorded and some of them are live, but these shows are for entertainment purposes only. However, use your own discernment as to what it is that you would like to take away from the show. And please like and subscribe to my show, my channel, and click the bell. You'll know when I'll be on live again. And leave a comment if you would in the comment section afterwards, and let me know what you're thinking after hearing all about this, and or if you have any other ideas that you would like to explore. We could do that later. And thank you to all my new subscribers. I appreciate you. I want to talk today about solar flares with regard to whether or not they can impact our spiritual connections. But I do want to first give a little bit of information about solar flares and how they can affect us and have affected us in the past. So, of course, you know the solar flares come from the sun, and I'm not a scientist. I don't work for NOAA. I'm not the weather gal, but I am very, very affected by the solar flares, as are many, and some people don't realize it, that they are. They go along and they're wondering what's going on in their DNA or in their lives as they move through it. So there are different classes of solar flares. First of all, if you're very aware of how earthquakes happen, you know that if it, exponentially, if you've got an earthquake of a certain parameter, that the next one is like 10 times worse and 10 times worse and 10. So you're dealing with something that can increase in its volatility and how it works. So flare classes have different names like A, B, C, M, and X. A is the tiniest, X is the largest. And then there are also subdivisions out there. So, just be aware. There's a lot of good channels on here that talk about solar flare activity, and so sunspots and how they can affect us. And one of the things I found out about perhaps the one we should be thinking about as it comes up is that NASA has said that solar maximum is expected in July 2025 with a peak of 115 sunspots. That's an awful lot of sunspots that we're dealing with. So no fear, just knowledge. Learn about it, learn what it is, how it can affect you, and work within those parameters if possible. There was a very big event that happened in September 1859, and none of us were here to talk about it. But it was called the Carrington event. And what it did was, it was such a strong solar cycle that it created auroral displays reported globally and causing and sparking fires in telegraph stations. Also, it ended up that the geomagnetic storm was most likely the result of a coronal mass injection, or a CME, and that's other lingo that they talk about in solar flares, from the sun colliding with the Earth's magnetosphere. And I don't know about some of you, but I know last year a lot of people were able to see some of the aurora borealis here in the United States, and possibly and of course in Canada, because it's at a higher degree. But we've been also talking about having one of those this week in this area. I don't know if anyone has seen one. You kind of have to go to an area where there's no woods around you or trees around you. This one was observed by a British astronomer. That's why they named it after him, Richard Carrington. It was the first record of a solar flare, and the geomagnetic storm of this magnitude occurring today does have the potential to cause widespread electrical disruptions, blackouts, and damage our power grid. So you can see that these things are important to know about and how they can affect the world around us. All right. Now I'd like to take a look at how this can affect us spiritually as well, because we are human beings having a spiritual experience, or vice versa, spiritual beings that have decided upon a human experience. And understanding how external events like solar storms and other things can affect our emotional state is pretty complex. But our emotions and experiences being deeply personal make it difficult to pinpoint exactly what external factors may be contributing into our inner lives. However, the relationship we have between the cosmos and our personal lives and human consciousness could have a profound impact on our spiritual connections. The scientific community has been studying solar storms for decades, as I indicated in my earlier comments. And while we have made significant progress in understanding their effects, the question of how it affects our spiritual world remains largely unexplored. So let's look at our own spiritual connection also from our own intuition. Some of us are going to feel a certain way. Some of my friends have said they cannot get out in the sun. It's difficult for them to walk, where before they were walking quite a bit. It's very damaging to the skin, even more probably so. But those are physical manifestations. Solar storms also say in spiritual tradition that they're not just random events, but they're connected to our collective unconscious and can even trigger some of us to have spiritual awakenings. If you think about the fact that all of us are connected, that also means the cosmos, including the sun. Some of the activity that is happening on the sun can be a microcosm or a macrocosm to what is also occurring within the planetary system. For we don't really know everything. We can only surmise some things by using the intuition that we have and developing the spiritual skills that we have in order to delineate what it means to us. So if it does allow us to grow spiritually and to tap into higher states of consciousness, this will also access our new levels of awareness. The more you learn, the more you must learn more. It's very important. Socrates says, all I know is I don't know anything because there's so much to know. I could never know it all. Right. So to speak. I'm paraphrasing here. While the scientific community may be skeptical of the claims, there's no denying that solar storms can have an impact on our spiritual life. No, I don't have scientific explanations. Some things have to come from intuition and faith, no matter whatever it is your belief system is. Some things can be rational, and some things can seem more rational once you take the elements and you extrapolate them over a group of other things that are occurring. I have some insights here and personal testimonies that link solar to spiritual experiences. There are many people who report seeing a sense of heightened awareness and sensitivity. Some people report having more vivid dreams, some vivid visions, some aura or aurora around, seeing auras, seeing the colors that are around us. Some people have had profound spiritual awakenings, for instance, in their chakra system. If their chakras are open and their kundalini rises from their chakras, then it's very possible that they could spontaneously be awakened to know things more so than their logical mind might say. Again, these are all things that are interesting to learn about and to also discern on our own. Scientific studies have always shown that solar activity can affect our brain waves, our heart rhythms, and could influence our emotional lives, just like the moon can influence us on a full moon night. There are some people that they say the hospital waiting rooms are full on a full moon. They also say there are a lot of babies that are born during full moons. What's the explanation for that? Well, if you take it down to the raw nitty-gritty, there is a pull that the moon does on our emotional bodies because we are so much a part of water, just like the oceans are and the tides move. So again, one of those things that you need to discern for yourself, but fascinating to learn about. The connection between solar storms and our spiritual life is a little more complicated than a 10 or 12-minute video, but I do want you to realize that we all are being affected. Yesterday at a regular meeting I was at, the Zoom platform went down, and people were complaining that there were a lot of other things that were going, or their Outlook didn't work, or their internet was down, or the satellite systems that are available for different things to integrate were not available. And when mentioning that we were having a class 3 solar storm, a lot of poo-pooing. And that's everybody else's discernment is fine. But I really do believe it had a lot to do with it. I was able to get into the meeting. I thought that was fascinating. A lot of other people were locked out. The main point to take away from the exploration here of solar storms is that their potential impact is available on our spiritual connections, our spiritual enlightenment, our spiritual abilities, perhaps to tap into that awareness and that field that's around us that we call our intuition or our gut level or our heart level or our third eye level here between the two eyebrows. There is evidence suggests that these events can have a subtle effect on our emotional and spiritual lives, so much so that over the period of time we've lived, we just weren't aware of what was going on because we weren't tapped into that information. Information is power. It can also be used to manipulate. It can be used to deceive, unfortunately. And that's why it's so important that everyone use their own discernment. There's nothing more that needs to be said, because we are the ones that create the reality around us and how we deal with that reality. Whether we don't, we deny, we stay dark to that idea, is our choice, because things are our choice. Whether you're a spiritual seeker or just someone that's interested in the mysteries of the universe, it's clear that solar storms have more than just a cosmic phenomenon. They may also hold the key to deeper states of consciousness and spiritual awareness. Again, the fact that these are occurring more and more, and at one point there were some scientists who said that there were holes in the sun that were big enough side by side on the first surface of the sun to fit the size of 7 Jupiters. We're like this in this universe. This is the Earth. This is Jupiter compared to this. So you can see, there is an effect that does occur. There are things that are happening that we are not aware of. And being aware, learning about them, empowers us. It helps us to grow and to understand the mysteries of the cosmos and the mysteries of our own personal spiritual lives. Thank you so very much. I hope you come back, and I thank you for your time. Bye-bye now.